question that we hear most often is what is going to happen to the Park City real estate market in light of the COVID-19 pandemic? This is naturally a very important question. It impacts buyers, sellers, investors. It impacts everybody. And of course, the coronavirus has impacted everyone in our country, in fact, on the globe. We've seen outbreaks. We've seen cities and countries respond to it, some better than others. The United States has not been good at this, unfortunately. But we are in the middle of this, and we get asked this question. And so I wanted to try to come up with an answer that is reasonable. It's an estimate. It's somewhat of a crystal ball. But, you know, we get asked this question, and we wanted to take a couple of months of, frankly, living through the pandemic, seeing what the market is doing, and drawing conclusions. And so I've put together a timeline, a 24-month timeline that I want to share with you, and some projections as to the outlook of the Park City real estate market going into the future. And you might say, why did I pick 24 months? Well, it's quite simple. We got hit with the pandemics. We've seen lots of experts, medical experts, and for the most part, whether it's Dr. Fauci or others who we have listened to, they have said, before we're going to see a vaccine, it's going to be 12 to 18 months. And so we've got to deal with this problem now and hope that the vaccine comes sooner and is very, very effective. So I thought, okay, if we got to look at 18 months, we need to at least project 24 months. So that's why I've created this timeline that I want to share with you, and I've broken it into 6 phases. And well, let me just start talking about it, and you let me know what you think of this. First phase is the discovery phase, 0 to 3 months. Of course, about the middle of March is when we recognized it clearly as a pandemic in the United States. Some saw indicators of that earlier, but that's really when it hit, and that is certainly when it hit Park City about the middle of the month. That's when we had our first case in Utah of community spread. Following the discovery of the pandemic is the shutdown phase, and that happened March 15th, and as far as Park City is concerned, it was an immediate shutdown of the resorts, of restaurants. It was a stay-at-home order. We didn't have much information at that time. We weren't sure about masks, no masks, eating out. We didn't know about a lot of things. Everybody was told, just stay home. And any guests who were invited or anticipated to come to Park City were kindly, politely turned away and told, sorry, no guests at this time. So we had a full shutdown phase there, and that's what I regard as the second phase, lasting approximately 2 to 3 months, March through May. The third phase is the reopen phase. It started around May, and we're in it now. I'm giving this recording about near the middle of July of 2020. And so we've had the reopening phase, not just Park City, but all of Utah, not just all of Utah, but for the most part, the entire country. They opened at different times, and they have adjusted accordingly. Now, this is when we really started to think about, about what was going to happen here, and I wanted to try to make an informed decision based upon the facts that we have for the next many months, year and a half from this point on. This is what I'm going to share with you. Now, realize this is a moving target. It changes, and it wouldn't surprise me between now and 24 months from now that we fine-tune this, but I think it is a good indicator as to where to go for right now and how to think about the Park City real estate market. Of course, health experts are asking the question, will there be a second wave? And some people feel that we're in a second wave. There's a continuation of an unsuccessful reopening that happened too soon because the shutdown, phase 2, wasn't long enough in their respective state. One thing is really clear, people are tired. They are wanting to go back to the way things were, and I don't know that that's ever going to happen. It's going to happen to a lesser degree than 100%, but we've been changed really forever. But we are tired of the limited social distancing. We are community people. We like to relate with people. I don't need to say much about the mask, no mask issue. A lot of people do not want to wear masks. So we've got to take all of that into consideration. We don't want to see a second wave, and many places seem to be having that right now. So let's go to the fourth phase. The fourth phase I'm calling the success or setback phase. And this is what we're really going to see over the next several months or to the end of this first year, is whether we're successful or not. As we reopen, as we close down again, as we adjust, we will determine whether we are successful or not. But there's a ton of questions that are on people's minds in this phase. Is there going to be a second shutdown that impacts them? And of course, as I've said, states want to go back to normal. Is there sufficient testing? I know that I probably sound like a broken record because this is what everybody talks about. But as this outbreak has been spreading out of control in a lot of states, the whole testing issue has surfaced again. Fortunately, Utah has been very good on testing. We can test. That isn't the case other places. And if you're going to test, then you need to track, and because that's how you really stop this. And so I believe that we are really being challenged as a country in this category. The vaccine, it seems like everybody's working on the vaccine, and there seems to be favorable news, but as the experts say, that's going to take some time. And then once we have a vaccine, you got to get it not just to our country, it's got to go out to the whole world in order for this pandemic to really be stopped, because we are such a global community now. What else happened? Well, Black Lives Matter protest, a very important protest, but that brought people together, some with masks, some without, and that didn't help the success or setback phase. Schools reopening, this is what's being talked about now. They're supposed to reopen next month. The federal government wants very much that they all reopen, and I don't know of anyone who is not concerned about it, even though they want a reopening. Everybody wants the kids to go back to school, but nobody wants them to get hurt. So this is a very, very important phase and a big question that every place will have to process and deal with. Then we're in the middle of a presidential campaign and an election. So anything happening new in your life? Well, slightly everything is new. Lots of questions. So let's look at the next phase. The next phase I'm calling the treatment and vaccine phase. And, I have played with this timing. My earlier timing was, it didn't include treatment, it just was vaccine. But in talking to some people in the know, the drug treatments that are becoming available are certainly going to slow things down. Not bring it to a finish, but I think it is going to have an impact upon people and their outlook for the future. But that, of course, raises another series of questions, the worldwide attitudes toward the pandemic and the different countries. And the U.S. is not looked upon very nice right now, nor is Brazil. Hopefully that's going to change. Some people don't want anyone from the U.S. coming in. And we did that first. And so it's an interesting phase. We're going to know who the next president is, and we're going to be under their leadership, whether it's a continuation of the current administration or a change. That's full of uncertainty. We'll be dealing with accepting what we come to call the new normal, and again, that will vary from place to place and community to community. The whole question of travel is going to be significant to Park City because, particularly during the ski season, most people have to travel to get here. Will they feel comfortable flying or not? Some airlines are blocking that middle seat to create social distancing. Others are not. Who's going to fly? Who's going to drive? Will people go on vacations? And the U.S. economy, so much going on here. And the stock market, it keeps going up. Happy that it's going up. Federal government is certainly doing everything in their power to keep it going up, but we don't really know how the companies are doing because they're not yet reporting their earnings. We haven't tried sending the kids back to school, so we don't know how that's going to work out. And there's just a lot of uncertainty there. But that's the treatment and the vaccine phase. Hopefully that will be very successful, and as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure everyone else, it can't come soon enough. Then the final phase is the new normal phase. Of course, that's full of a lot of questions, but we don't even know what they are yet. What we know is that we are through the first three phases. We are penetrating the fourth phase. We've got lots of questions on our minds, and Park City is ever changing, just like every city in this country is changing, and really every country in the world is changing. In order to help you with that, we rely upon our website. Our primary website is BuyParkCity.com, and we are building a new page on there which will go under the name of COVID-19 Update. It will probably be available August 1st, maybe a little bit sooner, but our goal there is to simply post on an ongoing basis what's happening in Park City, what's open, what's closed, what events historically have people look forward to that are still on schedule, some that are changed, and under what conditions, some are canceled altogether. So it's going to be a place for you to go to get an update, whether you live in Park City or you're just interested in Park City, live elsewhere and want to come to Park City. It will be a place to get current, up-to-date information. One thing I will tell you, middle of July, in the midst of a pandemic, Park City is very, very busy. It was a ghost town for a while, but it's surprising how many people have come here. Now, many people have left their homes, perhaps in the bigger cities, wanted to have more space for their social distancing, fresh air. They made their way to Park City, but our town right now is rocking. So it's really something. Anyway, keep this 24-month timeline in mind, and let's now take a look at the future outlook for Park City real estate. And let me just say that what I'm presenting to you is something that I thought about and that I began to interact with my team about it, and that's what you're going to see here. And we actually recorded last month in our Market Talk webinar. We had an extremely long Market Talk webinar where we actually recorded our entire discussion that we had on Zoom with all 6 members of our team as we processed this timeline and my thoughts on the future outlook of Park City. So let's take a look at them. First category, we've got 4 categories I'm going to share with you. The first one is primary homes. And, there's a couple observations to make there. People still need homes. These are their primary homes. They need shelter over their heads. And a lot of people want to live in Park City. A lot of them are already here. A lot of them have wanted to live here, and they've made the distance move because of the pandemic to offer themselves a safer and easier place to social distance and live. Park City offers a healthy outlook, outdoor lifestyle. And so my outlook for primary homes is a steady market. As I pointed out earlier, we've had 11 consecutive weeks of high pending home sale transactions compared to a year ago, pre-pandemic. So it hasn't slowed that down, and so it's a steady market, and we're really not seeing price decreases. So what's one of our other categories? How about secondary homes? Well, we have secondary homes, and there's always an ebb and flow of people wanting to buy and sell secondary homes. They like to do things here in Park City and have a place to come to without renting it, and especially with the pandemic, they want to control that a little bit. Some people's second homes are exclusively second homes. Others are also put in a rental pool to supplement the property with some income that's generated there. But again, many will transition from a second home to a primary home or for retirement purposes. So their homes, they're still attractive. I view this as a slightly slowing market, but still a steady market for us in Park City. And that has shown true thus far with the statistics. We come to the third category, the rental properties. And I already gave you a tip earlier about in our market overview session of our market monthly webinar that this is a more challenging category. This is an opportunity for risk takers. I got to tell you that, but you got to be willing to accept some uncertainty if you are a buyer of a rental property, because we don't know if we're going to have a ski season in the 2021 year. We don't know about the restaurants. They're opening with limited inside dining, curbside naturally, but it's not full speed ahead. And we've already alluded to when we first started talking about the timeline about people's confidence in traveling and spending money or sitting still, or it just really comes down to this: whether you own a rental property, you are not likely to receive the same rental income that you have gotten in the past. That is for sure. Exactly what it will be is unknown, but according to communication with some property management companies in town, they are taking reservations. So it's slower than in the past, but it is People are optimistic, but they do have cancellation policies in place to accept those reservations. That means if you're thinking about buying a rental property, you've got to be willing to take that risk on, and it probably means that you're going to insist upon in negotiations from a seller a discounted price than what might have been the case a year ago. That's understandable. That's what I think you should realistically expect, because that's what a buyer is going to need to feel comfortable proceeding. So what have we seen with the rental properties category in Park City? We've seen, number one, a pause in the market, and then people are asking this question: what will it take? That question starts with realtors. What will it take for people to buy a rental property in Park City? And our conclusion is it's going to take them being willing to accept the risk of not having rental income for the first year. Whatever they have is a bonus, but that probably translates into buying for less money, but that will bring in some more buyers who could not afford it previously. So I think it will feed the market, but it's still in a bit of a pause. I got to tell you that. We're just not seeing those number of pendings like we did in the home category. But we'll figure out what it will take, and people will jump on the opportunities, and others will wait and watch. Fourth category I want to share with you is the vacant land category. And we all know that vacant land, there's a finite amount of vacant land, undeveloped, waiting to be purchased, waiting to be developed, whether it's in Park City or in the Snyderville Basin or in surrounding areas. It's becoming more and more a rare commodity, and depending upon what people's interests are, if they want larger parcels of land, they have to go further and further away from Park City, but people are doing that. They're buying them now because those are being absorbed, and once the land's gone, it's gone. So that market seems to be a limited market because not everybody's trying to buy the land, and it all depends what kind of property they want, larger parcels or closer into town. But if you are thinking about that at all, this is the time to buy it, because they keep selling, and the values are going to go up for the resale. So that's my projection for the future outlook for Park City real estate. If you want to hear the full-blown ideas that were shared by my team, we did record it in last month's webinar for June 2020. It was a special edition. It was a long webinar. It was over an hour, but you really get to hear what all our team members, well, you get to meet our team members if you've never met them, but you get to hear what they thought and what they brought to the discussion, what we agreed upon and what we disagreed upon. What I just presented is the conclusions that came from that, but we realize you may have questions, so if you have any questions whatsoever, shoot myself or any member of my team an email or give us a call. I'm available at ron@thewilsteinteam.com. If you'd like a call back, include your phone number, and happy to chat with you about this.